So good evening, everybody. It is our special meeting, Wednesday, February 23rd at 5:30 p.m. of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission. And we will call the meeting to order. And Jay, can you do the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Lesniak.
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Present.
Commissioner Newkirk.
Here.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Favreau.
Present.
Chair Merrigan.
Present.
Okay, everyone's here.
Thank you, everybody. So can I ask for an acceptance of the agenda? Does someone want to?
You want a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to move that we accept the agenda as written for the special meeting, February 23rd, 2022.
And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
And all in favor, aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, great. So now is the time for public comment. That this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. So Jay, did we have anybody that wanted to speak?
No one let me know they wanted to speak. Looks as if we have a few guests in the audience. If we want to ask them if they have any public comments.
Oh, sure. So why don't we go down the list? So Janelle, did you want to do a public comment?
Yes, I'm in favor of the restoration for the mural at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center.
Okay, great. Is that all you wanted to say?
Yes,
Okay, well, thank you so much.
thank you.
Jarvis Crawford, would you like to do public comments?
I too am in favor of the mural for the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center. It's been up for close to 20 years, if not more. And with restoration, with the proper work actually being done by the actual artist, I think this is going to be something great for our community that will last for many more decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jarvis. And Jody Diaz, did you want to make a public comment?
I'm having a hard time hearing you guys, but I am calling in support of the restoring and refinishing the mural that is on the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center wall. It is artwork, it is historical, and it needs to be preserved. The money needs to be funded to take on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jody. And Mark Talkington, did you want to make a public comment? I guess not. So, okay, so that's great. Thank you very much. We really love having the public come to our meetings and give us their opinions on what we are doing. So I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. So that concludes our public comment, and we'll move on to item E. So I just wanted to just say a couple things to you guys. It was really great to be able to go to the the art fair, having it come back to life in Palm Springs. The other weekend, it was exciting to see some of our artists and some of our collectors and some of our arts professionals in town to actually see people in person for the first time, which was amazing. So I hope that that proves a good omen for things to come. And it was great to catch up with people and the new director of the museum and other arts professionals around the valley and kind of talk to them about, brainstorm about projects that could be upcoming that we could think about doing, or things, where we want the valley to go. And we have such a great resource of our artists in the valley. So, I think arts professionals in the area really value our local artists and want to really keep promoting them and creating great projects that maybe use artists instead of bringing people from local artists instead of bringing people from out of area when possible. So that was really exciting. And the museum is going to have these pop-up events over the spring that are just kind of artist in residencies. So look for that information coming out. It's a great way for the museum to kind of get back in the game and feature some new and exciting artists and open it up to the community with different events surrounding those art residency programs. So on that note, to think about what's in the pit, it doesn't look like there's going to be any construction in the pit for a number of years. So when we originally planned the art in the pit, we thought it was going to be just a couple years max that we would be able to have access to that area to activate the downtown space. But depending on working with the owner of the property, we may be able to think about having some projects go there longer. So that does relate to one of our items. But that's just to let you know, it's a normal thing in Palm Springs. Development projects take forever sometimes to build, and they don't start necessarily when people wanted to start them. So that has affected the pit downtown. So it will probably be remaining there for a few years more. And then the biggest thing I wanted to say, and I really want as commissioners, city commissions, the city council asked for commissions to provide their advice on specific endeavors that they have expertise in. And one of those, obviously, commissions is the Public Arts Commission. And I really want to ask the staff and the city council to look back over our past few years. And, there's been this, I keep hearing that there isn't, communication. And I know on our end that we do hold these meetings and have multiple meetings. And we do really communicate to the council what we would like to do and what our programming needs are and what we would like to pursue. And then over the years, we make presentations to the council. We go every year and give like a year-end report to the council. And when we turned into COVID and kind of turned our year around and started doing our grant program, that was a long studied project that we had talked about. So we had talked about it for months and months and months. We had voted on it. a number of times. And then in our June meeting in 2020, our whole agenda was about the CARES program and reporting all of this information to the city council. So I really would like the council and staff to maybe go back to that meeting or go back to those minutes and really understand that the communication has flowed from the Public Arts Commission, and to hear in public forums information that's not correct, or just because you say something does not mean it's true. Talking about the Bogart statue and that the Public Arts Commission has decided not to weigh in or anything like that, which has never been the case. You hear other commissioners say things in other meetings and things are never corrected. So I just really want the city government and the public at large to know that we are committed to providing any advice that the city council wants from us. We cannot always give advice if it's not asked for. And we are dedicated to creating dynamic and engaging community-spirited public arts in the city of Palm Springs. And I know, I don't want to speak for all the commissioners, but I know that from what the entire commission has talked about at our meetings over the past year, I think they feel the same way and would really want that acknowledged, because we work really hard. This is a volunteer job. We spend a lot of hours on it, a lot of brainstorming, research, et cetera, et cetera. So I really want to make sure that the council and the city staff really values us as a commission, but also values all of the commissions of the city. They receive an amazing amount of talent and dedication and work from the commissions. It's what makes Palm Springs distinctive, and it's a value added to the community. So that is kind of my what I wanted to say. I just want to knock down some things that keep happening in other meetings and hearing and that things that aren't true. And I just wanted to end on a really positive note for the commission and value all of the work that each commissioner does and the commission as a whole. So we've done amazing work for the city. At least since I've been on the commission since 2018, I know what we've done. And prior to that, the commission did amazing work as well. So that is my comment today. And I would like to move on to F1. Oh, one quick thing, and maybe Matthew in his remarks can expand upon it a little bit, but we had a meeting with the head of the libraries. So I'm throwing this out there for you guys to think about. They really would like to have us do a project with them. It's a specific project, so we can talk about it later, but so that would, and the library is not a historic site, which I didn't realize. So we wouldn't have to deal with historic site issues with that. So they are really interested in doing a project, and their new library is not going to be ready for a number of years. So it would be at this library. And then the last thing is, if you guys would like to change our meeting. So maybe at the end of the meeting, we'll do a round robin of times that would be better. I threw out 4, Russell gave a shout out for 4. So let me know what you think. And then, so let's move on to item F1. And Barrett, do you want to talk about that?
If it's the picnic, maybe Matthew can start us off.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, Barrett and I worked together and we came up with a proposed budget for the picnic that's coming up. And the proposed budget you have in front of you, it's $1,800, and that would include $200 for a white printed tablecloth with Palm Springs Public Arts Commission printed on it with our logo. $200 for the white canopy, meaning a tent that goes up to cover us, which we could use at other events. $150 for a banner with the logo. $150 to reproduce Imagine buttons. $300 for foam backed posters. And that means like 4 to 5 at Staples or another location. $300 for additional printing costs, such as pamphlets and information regarding the grant programs and stuff like that. We also came up with the idea of having an artist on site. Maybe we could have 1 or 2 artists. Initially, I suggested Tyson, but it doesn't have to be Tyson. We can come up with some other artist that we haven't used as much in the past, because we thought that would draw attention, but it's also supporting an artist that's in our community. So I'm just putting that out there. The total cost came to $1,800, and the picnic is going to be, I believe, the end of March. Barrett, do you have anything to add to that?
I'll just add that I think this is a really good opportunity for us, and I'm hoping that it can be the beginning of the kind of activities that maybe the commission takes on a regular basis around town as these public outreach opportunities present themselves. This and the information sessions and the grant program are all going to be opportunities to gather feedback from the public and help us steer our plans in the future.
Great. I would just ask that you add another $500 on this in case you use 2 artists. But that's just my thoughts. So, Russell, did you want to make a motion?
Well, yes, I would make a motion, and the date is March 19th, correct?
I think it's March 22nd, but I don't have the information in front of me right now.
Okay, so our agenda says March the 19th.
Okay, then that's probably correct.
All right. Because yeah, I would like to make a motion because I think it's a brilliant idea that we move forward with the picnic on an informational level. I don't think we should pursue using any artists at this event. I think it should be just straight up informational, but I'll leave that up to you. But I would like to make a motion that we do approve the budget of $1,800 for materials and supplies for PS1 picnic, date given March 19th, 2022.
I need to ask something. Tracy just mentioned adding another 500. So are we forgetting that?
It's up to you guys if you want to change Russell's motion. It's just like an in case thing too, because maybe you decide not to do any artists, but at least you have the money approved.
Or let me amend my motion to the amount of $2,300.
Well, I will second that, and I will say, I think it's fantastic, and I think you guys should do with this what you think. Just take total ownership of it, and if you use an artist, if you don't use an artist, whatever works for you guys, because I think it's just great outreach. And one note maybe to Jay, hopefully maybe the city manager could just pay for this without it having to go to council. So maybe we can ask for that so it gets done quicker. Or maybe it also goes to council, but things can be ordered ahead of time. So is there any other comment?
I have one. I was just checking it. It is March 19th. And I just ask Barrett and Matthew to come up with something to do at the booth that is engaging for the focus participants. And this is really a family event. This is something for children. And one of the key things on their poster for this picnic is face painting. And maybe you do something with face painting with kids, you know, that's public art right there. And then you end up with these little kids who are embracing the idea of public art. So something that just engages families, because I think that's really who the target audience for this is. But I think we should be doing it as long as it's focused and not just creating litter.
Awesome. Any other comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can you clarify what the motion is if along with the request to have the city pay for these costs? Is that?
Oh, I'm just wondering if, you know, it used to be the case that, you know, when we had to buy a supply or something, you know, it could just, we would pay for it, but the city manager could just approve someone charging it on a credit card or something. You know, instead of having, I know that they keep going back and forth on this, the city council and everything, like not wanting to see all these nitty costs. So that's why I'm saying, you know, maybe, you know, we definitely will pay for it out of our budget, definitely. But can it just be fast tracked?
Okay. As a request to fast track it without going to city council.
Yeah, like maybe it's something that just can be paid. So we can use it as a test case.
I do have a question. If it is fast tracked, because I prefer not using my credit cards, my own personal credit cards, when would we hear about?
We would hear when we hear. I'm sure they'll get back to us really quickly because the time is, you know, it's a city event and it's time is of the essence. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't want people to charge things and then not be able to get reimbursed for them. So I don't think that's fair to use your credit card.
Yeah, just to point on that very quickly, depending on what printing services you're using, they will invoice the city directly on an approved budget.
Thank you for that.
So shall we vote?
Yes. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Thank you very much. So this is number 2 is quick, actually. So the museum loan has come due. And I'm working on, I've sent the original paperwork. The museum was great to have the paperwork for us, so that's great. So now it's gone to the city attorney to work up new loan paperwork for the items at the airport, and also there's one item over at the convention center. So the museum is really short-staffed and they're just, you know, they have a lot on their plate this year. So we're going to keep the same art because they really don't have the bandwidth to look for new art. But I'm stressing to them, and we're going to talk about it at a later point, that we would like to kind of start changing out the art at the airport. So, which is something, you know, we have to discuss with the new commission, because that's something we've been discussing, you know, periodically over the years. You know, wanting to have something, you know, more dynamic and current at the airport than what is there. So on that note, I'm setting up a meeting or a, you know, a tour for the museum to go look at their works over at the airport. In our maintenance subcommittee is going to go do that as well. But I wanted to open this up to the whole commission because we've asked and asked and asked for years to go over and look at the pieces of art. So if any other commissioner wants to go see our art and our loaned art at the airport, let me know. And we can see if maybe it's 2 visits or something like that. So the airport seems to be much more open with this at the moment. So I just don't want to leave anybody out. So let me know about that. And then maintenance and bench program. So Matthew and I had a meeting about Rainmaker again with the city maintenance department, and it morphed into the bench program as well. So and I'm throwing this out, and this is the temporary art subcommittee, so you can think of it, take it however you'd like. The city would really like us, and I'm throwing all of this out for you guys to think about, and maybe we talk about it more at the next meeting. So we are not responsible for the maintenance of Rainmaker for some reason. Luckily, because although it's a line item on our budgets, but it always says 0. So luckily, because it's expensive, but the metal portions of the sculpture have gotten so stripped by the weather of the paint that the city maintenance department has like repainted it and kept it, kept those metal parts going until now. And they're really asking us to think if we could pay to restore the metal parts of Rainmaker, because it needs, whenever you repaint it and clean it, it needs to be taken apart. It's very expensive. So they would really like an art restorer to do it. So I said I would bring that back to the commission, and that's probably something we should pay for, yes. And then they feel confident that they could do everything else, the concrete, the plumbing, the electrical, all of the other things that this sculpture needs work on. So then that leads to the bench program, and they are concerned that some of our original benches, which date from 2019, are looking very old. So it's not that they're, I guess they're fading, they're just aged. So we kind of threw a couple of ideas around that maybe we age out some of the benches, and they would come and paint them like the normal city paint color. And maybe we would do phases, right? Like, maybe we phase out the oldest set of benches and then leave them for a while, and then maybe do another program, right? And maybe just like, a bench, maybe a bench has a life of like 2 years or something like that. And then we start to phase them out. And then I had thrown out to her that we could also ask a business to sponsor a bench. So because some businesses are so in love with their benches, they go and clean them, they really love them. And so maybe they would want to sponsor a bench, right? So that could help with the costs or help with, the longevity of the benches. So that I'm throwing those few things out to you because the bench maintenance issue is just going to grow because we have so many benches. So as they get older and older, there will be more of an issue. So I'm throwing that out to you. So then let's move on to item F3, which comes from our meetings with the Public Arts Art Maintenance Subcommittee. So when we came up with a list of these items to appraise, they are a combination of wave rhythms, which is which has damage. We want to see how it appraises, and that will be able to advise us on how to move forward with that sculpture. And it's the same with actually all of these. So they've either had damage, they're by a famous artist, and we want to make sure that the city knows the current value of some of their important works of art and ones that need some restoration. So I don't know if anyone wants to add to that.
Madam Chair,
Discussion?
I
Yeah.
think we should be able to just take this straight to a vote, because it's our duty to maintain our public art pieces. And these are ones that you all have identified with issues. So it's important to show the value so we can, with all of that knowledge, decide what to do with them, move them, restore them, repair them, etc. So I would be comfortable if we could just make this a motion now.
Sure, go for it.
All right, I would like to make a motion that we approve a contract up to $5,000 for Nail to Nail LLC to conduct appraisals for the 5 aforementioned pieces of public art.
I
Great.
second the motion.
Okay, great. Is there any further discussion, or can we move to a vote? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Thank you, everybody. Okay, so now we're moving on to item 4. So,
Chair, I did not see or hear a vote from Commissioner, I'm sorry, Shonda?
A vote, Thomas.
Yes, Jay, I was looking for the 5 benches that were in mention, that I didn't see them in I was looking for them. So is it the appraisals, the rhythm waves, or total, like, I'm just trying to find them on the agenda. Is that where we are?
yeah, we're number F3.
Right,
They're not benches, they're sculptures.
okay, that's because I thought you said benches. So I got a little,
That was item 2, yeah. Yeah, now we're on 3, F3.
okay. So Russell's making a motion for 3 and the loan program. Okay, that just moved really quickly and I just got a little confused. Okay, so I'm on same page and these are the structures. All right. Yes, Jay, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
So item 4 is flag replacement. So Taming of Horses is a piece that is on loan to us by Christopher Myers. And it's on loan for 2 years. And when we originally approved this piece back in December of 2020, I guess, part of this sculpture is that it's a sculpture and then it has these flags. Because it's the desert and we know wind and fading would harm this piece, we asked for multiple flag replacements in case they were needed. So this is the first time they've actually already been replaced. Desert X asked them to go ahead and do it. So Rice Construction is the company that installed them and they have the replacement flags. So this approves the cost that they've incurred. And then I'm putting on here as item 5, a second replacement if needed. So we just pre-approve it. Because they were supposed to have 3 sets of flags. He hasn't gotten back to me on that yet, but it would be great if we just pre-approve it so then we don't need to worry about it. So item 4 is flag replacement. So does anyone want to make any comments on that?
So do you want motions on each one of these?
Yeah, because one is if needed and one is.
Okay. All right, well then, let me make a motion that we approve the installation costs of the flags for Taming of the Horses for $1,691. We have entered into the agreement to extend this on loan until 2023, so it's up to us to help maintain it. The flags have been replaced. They look terrific, and they've actually done a better job of installing this set of flags. So I'm quite confident they will last very well for the next year.
Oh, great. Yeah, that was part of what he said in his email. Okay, cool. All right, so do we have a second on that?
Second.
And do we have any other conversation on that, comments?
I just had a question about the flags. When they were originally installed, weren't additional flags? From my memory, there were additional flags that came with the horses.
Yeah,
And
we just talked about that.
right,
Yeah,
you said that they were replaced once, but I believe that there were more than one set of flags. There were like 3 sets of flags that came with the first set of, I'm just throwing it out there because that's what I remember, and I just wanted to call it into
I just said that. So yeah, that's why item 5 is on the agenda. Because there's supposed to be a 3rd set, so that would be second replacement needed. So if we pre-approve that, so yeah, that's my memory and your memory are the same on that, Shonda.
Okay, so if I'm being clear that when we initially got the horses, there were 3 sets of flags that came with them, and 2 sets have been used, and now there's a 3rd, because that's what I'm saying.
No, this is the first replacement, so this is the 2nd set made. There is yet again a 3rd set should we need them.
Okay, and what I'm saying is that I remember that they already exist, but no one remembers that, but I'm just putting it on the record that.
No, excuse me, Shonda, they do exist. This item is to pay for the attachment or installation of the flags. The next agenda item is to pay for the 3rd set to be installed should we need them.
So this is just for the installation and not for the purchase of the flags?
Correct.
And
Correct. Installation.
Yes, the construction company went and replaced them. So then this construction company, yeah, we said that. It's the construction company that installed the sculptures. They have the flags, and it was part of their job was to replace them if needed, so.
okay, so thank you for the clarification. My Wi-Fi isn't as brilliant as you all, so you cut in and out, so I don't get everything. So I appreciate so kindly for you to repeat yourself. Thank you.
No
But I also,
problem.
if I would like to add something there, I think part of the confusion is coming from flag replacement rather than flag installation.
Well, it's replacement, so
Yeah.
they're being replaced. Okay, so let's have a vote on it.
On number 4.
Yeah, is there any other comment on replacing the flags? If not, I'd like to move to a vote on it.
Yes.
So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have any nays or abstentions?
I'd like to abstain from this one.
Okay, thank you, Shonda. Okay, so item number 5 is pre-approving an additional replacement if it's needed for $1,691.
All right, I would like to make a motion that we do pre-approve a replacement or installation cost of $16.91 for a 3rd set of flags for taming of the horses, should we deem it necessary.
Great. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Do we have any other comment on it? Discussion. If not, then let's move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any nays or abstentions?
I'll go ahead and abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. So now we're moving on to item F6. So this was a project that Ann did. So I'm not, this was a piece that came from our 30 by 30 show. So it was meant to be, and was meant to be a piece of temporary art. So Jeff Pick received an artist fee of $3,500 for the piece. And then last April, he received $2,400, and that was to repair these lights. So our total cost to date is $5,900. So he is asking us to pay to do light replacement again at the cost of $1,306 for supplies and labor. So I am throwing it out to you guys because he asked us to, if we would approve this cost for him. And I'd really like to see what people think about it.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
I personally love this piece. I think it's distinct and interactive, and it gets a lot of attention. However, I was dismayed to find out from the city that there's no letter of agreement with him on file. And I think that that is sloppy on part of the previous commission, that there should be something on file that talks about whose responsibility everything is, and liability, and when this piece is done. So I would suggest if we do vote to continue paying for his funds, and it seems like the pit is going to be there for a while, we need to get him to sign a letter of agreement, and we need to know specifically what is our responsibility and what is his responsibility.
I would also like to add something to that, that we have, as part of our information that we were given, a letter from Michael Braun, who's the owner of the pit. And this letter states that we can use the pit for 2 years, beginning January of 2019. That ended in January of 2021. So unfortunately, I think before we even ever talk about or ever decide anything for the next 2 items, we need to make sure in writing that we have a letter of permission from Michael Braun to use that pit. We can't assume anything.
No, definitely not. So I know, Russell, you were going to talk to Michael about updating that letter for the pit.
And then, all right, I have a strong suggestion then that we table items 6 and item 7 until we get the necessary documents in place that our fellow commissioners are requesting.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because there's no like real urgency for either of these two. It's something we do need to address, but a couple of the commissioners are uncomfortable moving forward, then let's get the necessary paperwork in place and move forward.
Well, actually, let me ask one thing about item 6 before we go. So lighting was never originally part of this idea. So it was supposed to be just like a 3-month project. It was supposed to be made out of sand. And as time went on, it became grander and grander. So if people are interested in keeping this project, are people interested in keeping it lit at night? Because that's something that was never discussed. It's something the artist kind of took. I mean, he might have discussed it with Anne, but he took his own initiative on that. So, because then we wouldn't even have to bring 6 back.
Well, I'm of the opinion that we should move forward with keeping it lit, because especially now with the Forever Maryland being installed above the pit, that is such a focal point for tourist draw, that having the lights on the fault line in the pit at night especially is so dynamic that I think at least for the period of the next year, if we want to have Michael Braun do an agreement through the end of 2023, which he of course would, because the pit's going to be the pit for at least that long. I think the lighting is very key and important.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the lighting greatly adds to it. So, okay, great. Yeah, it's definitely, stuff is not going to be built there until the other part is built.
So do we need a motion to table those 2 items for our next meeting?
Sure.
Well, it was a question. Do we need a motion or could we just table
I
it?
think well, Jay, should we do a motion on that? I think it would be good to do a motion on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's right. Okay, I would like to make a motion that we table item 6, discussion of maintenance on the fault line, and item 7, discussion of restoration of Ryan Campbell's line segment mural, both in the pit, until our next meeting.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Are you voting yes, Shonda?
She said yes. in
Shonda's
chat.
voting in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, does that work for you, Jay?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, so item 8. So Barrett can speak about this. So I was the one that created this Art is Everywhere grant in 2020. And we did a lot of work on it throughout the community. Russell and Shonda worked on it as well with community outreach. And then we did a number of neighborhood grants for during COVID. So obviously not as many as we wanted because everything was shut down. And the whole idea behind this grant was that you had a community engagement with it within the community that wanted it. So I provided Barrett with all of the old materials, and he has updated it and made a great new program of it. So Barrett, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. So what we're proposing is to relaunch the community grant program with an initial round of grants, 5 $5,000 grants, and then see how that goes, and then hopefully come back to the commission to approve funding for further rounds of grants in the future. So we're not creating like a timeline for applications. It's sort of an open-ended process. And once these grants are approved, then we can assess how to move forward with an additional round. The process would be, well, first doing the outreach, like at the neighborhood picnic coming up and at other events. The brochure or the information sheet that was attached to the agenda is a draft of what I'm planning to present at the picnic with information about what qualifies and how to apply. The process would essentially be the neighborhood association could fill out a questionnaire that's on our website. We take a look at it. And then I would like each applicant to be paired with a member of the commission to sort of develop the proposal and then present it to the full commission at a meeting to approve the actual project then. Happy to take questions, but I think that's essentially it.
Barrett, the Wi-Fi cut out at the end, so I didn't get your last sentence.
Which part? That I'm taking questions or before that?
Right before that, you cut out. It went robotics. I wasn't able to catch everything. I apologize.
Okay, I think I was saying that applicants would apply through our website, and then I would like them to work with a member of the commission to develop a proposal that they would then bring to a meeting to discuss with the full commission.
Thank you. That's the part I missed. Thank you.
Sure.
So any questions or comments?
Well, I would just say, put in my wholehearted support of this because having been the commissioner to work with a few communities to do temporary installations on our previous grant program, Little Tuscany, Sunny Dunes, Arenas. It's very engaging both for the community and for us and for the general public. So thank you, Barrett, and you all for reprising this.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, I spoke with Denise Goolsby at the city, who was very supportive and excited that it was getting going again. And I think she already knows a couple of neighborhood groups that have ideas. So I'll be working with her to get the information out as well.
Oh, that's great, because she was actually one of the biggest cheerleaders of this until COVID hit and they stopped having meetings. So yeah, she was just totally in the corner on this, so that's great.
So I'm
And
very
she's really helpful.
Yes. So I'm very happy to make a motion if we're ready.
Is there any other comments, questions, concerns? Yeah, go for it, Russell.
All right. I would like to make a motion to approve the Art is Everywhere Neighborhood Grant relaunch for 2022 season for 5 grants up to $5,000 per grant for a total of $25,000.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And is there any other discussion? So if not, let's take a vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any noes or abstentions? Shonda's voting through chat, Jay, or the thumbs up.
She put a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So now we'll move on to item F9. So I had the follow-up meeting with the city manager yesterday about this idea. We had talked about it in December, that if the engineering report came back in a positive way, to then hold some public outreach, actual public meetings about the mural, which we have never done since we've been on the commission. And I don't think prior to that as well. So it's something that we've always talked about wanting to do, but it's just been kind of in discussion phase and within the maintenance subcommittee. Everything seems to go back to the art maintenance subcommittee, is when we first started talking about the tile, doing the mural in tile. So now is our next step. And I know the city really wants to, this is something I proposed to the city manager, and he kind of said, oh, that's what, we have been talking about wanting to do is, when you have a big project or have some new idea, to go out into the community and elicit comment, support, and discussion and advice on these issues. So I wanted to ask the commissioners if they would, how they feel about setting up a date today. You could, or we can email some dates that work, but we could either hold our meeting, which we've done in the past. We did a lot of these community outreach meetings in the past, pre-COVID. So we would go to a certain place that was germane to our discussion and elicit the public to come join us at the meeting. And we had a lot of really great discussions and interactions on subjects at those meetings. So we had a number of them at the Art Museum. We had them at Desert Art Center. I know that they've had them at the Convention Center in the past. So, so we could pick a place. And I had said James O'Jesse, and hopefully there's a bigger room, but the room we've had meetings there before is rather small, and we're not in post-COVID meeting area yet, so we could have a meeting outside. We could have a virtual meeting, so we could start with one virtual meeting and then have an on-site meeting. They're not really sure when we're going to start having in-person meetings, but if we had something outside, we could spread out, or if maybe the gym was available, maybe we could have a meeting at the gym. So I just wanted to throw that out, get some days and times for you guys if we want to do it as our normal meeting, which I think would be great to do it in March. So that would be March 16th. And then we could see if James O'Jesse is available, and if not, we do this meeting via Zoom. So I just wanted to throw that out and get some comment back from you guys.
Yeah, I would like to just say, I think this is extremely important. And as we have seen by the public comments tonight, there certainly is community support for this, citywide support for this. So for us on the Arts Commission to know exactly what the neighborhood desire is, do they want the mural refinished exactly as it is on a painted surface? Would they like to do it in tile? Do they want it compressed if we do it on tile? Just so we know the parameters of their desire for the mural on this building. So I'm open to any meeting time in any format, because that's a very important issue. We should find out exactly what the neighborhood wants and then move along.
So would you think of our next meeting? Think of that as the date to do it, to start?
I would leave that up to you and in your dialogue with the neighborhood, what works for the best for the community. I'm open to whatever.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, the Wi-Fi is going here, so I just want to make sure that I'm hearing correctly because it's going robotic. You're saying that about meetings at the JOJ to discuss the mural. From what I understand, Mara came to neighborhood meetings and had discussions with the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure that that's clarified, because the neighborhood is let me know that they've had meetings about this. So I think I heard something about there's not being meetings on this. So unfortunately the Wi-Fi is bad, so I'm gonna have to ask for clarity.
Oh, that's okay. No, we've never had a public meeting about it. Maybe Mara went to some community meeting or something, but it's never been agendized, and we've never had, an actual public meeting. So I think it's really valuable for the community, right? To have it on the record in public, so everybody can participate if they want to, and bring a whole meaningful discussion on it. So.
Perfect. Will the community be able to have it near the mural? Because I don't know, because from what I understand, a couple of meetings about the community have been done outside of the community. So the community hasn't had access to go to those meetings. So I just want to clarify that make sure that they will have proper information to let them know that there will be a meeting that they could have access to.
Oh, yeah. And one idea that the city manager had yesterday, which I thought was great, actually, was they've had all of the police chief meetings outside. So he said, you could have it right in front of the mural. So that's an option, right? So we could have it outside in front of the mural, and that could be socially distanced. And then hopefully we could have it, earlier, so it's not dark. He thought maybe there was another room at James O'Jesse that we could have it in, because that one meeting room is really, really tiny. So I've been there a number of times, and it's standing room only with people out the door. So it'd be nice to be able to have a meeting where everybody could attend, right, that wanted to. So I had also thrown out the convention center, just in case it became really huge. But I did think having a meeting in front of the mural is a great idea as well. So it's kind of the consensus of, everybody and what we can schedule, what spaces are available. But maybe if we use the March 16th as the date, and then we'll, the date that we are going to have our meeting. So we schedule it now with a date, and then we figure out where we can have it. So do you guys have a preference? Like have the meeting outside in front of the mural, which could be great. Have the meeting at James O. Jesse, try to find a bigger space there. If we can't have an in-person meeting, have a Zoom meeting, or have an alternate location. I think it's hard having a meeting at the convention center because people have to park far away and walk. So it would be easier actually to just park at James O. Jesse and walk over the grass and have it in front of the mural. So
Yeah.
is there a consensus on what you guys think or have any comments?
Well, my comment would be, I would strongly urge that we do it in person, at site, outside.
Okay.
And I agree with that. My concern is on the 16th, if we do it earlier, that's a Wednesday, and some of our members do have other employment, do have other jobs, do have other things they're doing, which may conflict.
So why don't
All of us are here right now, so any of those who do work, and I'm one of those people who do work, would a Wednesday, March 16th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon work? For me, yes.
I'm not aware of any conflicts right now, so it should be okay. And I would say too that I fully support having it at the community center. I think outside sounds really nice. And if that means finding an alternative date where that space is available, then we move the date so that we can have it at the community center.
I have a couple of things to bring up because I live in the community. The time the community has requested that meetings be after 7:30 because of work. It's a working class neighborhood. So getting people at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday will be very difficult from what I understand the history of living here. So I would ask you guys to take that in consideration, to ask the community what would be a good date versus making a date for them to show up.
Just with that in mind, maybe, because I do agree with Russell and I agree with most everybody here that I think on-site during the day is important. Maybe we should think in terms of a Saturday, a morning. Have our regular meeting for us on the 16th, but have an additional meeting just for that on another day where people could be available.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, so what do people think about that? Because 7:30 would be too dark to have a meeting outside. So it would definitely have to be inside. So
perhaps Shonda could reach out to her community and see if we could do a meeting on a Saturday at like 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, get a couple of times that are possible and come back to us through Jay and make it a special meeting.
I agree with that.
yeah, and we can reach out to we can also ask, yeah, and Jay can reach out to, well, number one, Jay has to let us know if we can do a meeting on a Saturday. And then could you find out what kind of space at James O. Jesse we can use? The city manager's I thought his idea was great. So we, because someone would have to be available to like bring chairs out and things like that. So it would have to be scheduled.
As luck would have it, we might be able to ask Jarvis Crawford.
Oh, is he still here? Oh. Jarvis, do you have your schedule for James O. Jesse? And
Are you guys asking
you
me?
would have been the next person that we reached out to about this, but we needed to get the consensus of the commission first.
Is it okay to speak?
Please.
Yeah, if you guys just email me over a couple of the dates that you and times that you're looking for. I'm not at a computer to see my calendar, but yes, I do not mind hosting that here at the site. And we can use either the gymnasium or our meeting room, but I heard you say the meeting room may be too small, so just let me know.
Oh, great. And then did you like the city manager's idea of doing in front of the mural? Like, would we be able to bring chairs out to that?
As long as it's not a little breezy that day, I think it would be a great idea.
Okay. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, that meeting room, it just seems small to me. So yeah, it would be great if we could use the gym as an alternative. All right, cool. So why don't we kind of, how
Move
can we
on.
do a motion on this? Thank you so much, Jarvis.
So can we go on to item 10?
Yeah, why don't we just make a motion that we will have this meeting in March? And that we will.
Tracy, can we also say that either March 19th or 26th?
Well, we can't really say anything because Jarvis is going to check the calendar in the community and get back to us. So I don't think a motion is necessary. We just need to coordinate with them and set the meeting date. It's too vague for a motion.
Yeah, we will though, because we're going to have to adjourn to something, so we will have to, I mean, we could just say, we could do a motion to hold this meeting at our normal meeting time or another specified date in conjunction with the James O. Jesse Center. Let's say something like that.
Well, we can just do that in our motion to adjourn to the next meeting to be determined at James O. Jesse Desert Highland Center.
Yeah, but I think we should vote on, yes, we want to hold this meeting. So we can just vote on that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that, yes, we want to have a community meeting to discuss the mural at the James O. Jesse Desert Island Center.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any nays or abstentions? Okay, great. So we'll circle back with a date and times for everybody, a couple of them. Jay, did you say it's okay to have a meeting on a Saturday?
Sure, we can meet on Saturdays.
Poor Jay.
You know, we'll have to coordinate with Jarvis Facilities to make sure you have everything you need there though, so.
Okay, great. All right, so next,
You know what, let me just correct myself, because as you know, we did go through this phase where all meetings were supposed to be at 5:30. We know our city manager wants to get away from that because everything seems to conflict. But I haven't heard that we've gotten away from it. But as a special meeting, I would think, you know, it's one of those, let's see what happens.
okay, okay, great. Matthew, you wanted to give an update on Main Street and Rainmaker.
You already covered some of this stuff on Rainmaker. In that meeting, it was very clearly stated that yes, the city is responsible for Rainmaker. We did ask in that meeting one simple question: can it at least be turned on in the interim? And we were told that because it was flooded, the wiring has just gone. So the wiring needs to be redone, so it cannot be turned on. They're not only waiting for, and Stacy has put in a request, she put it in a while ago, for funding to start the work on Rainmaker. The city apparently, from what I understood, just hasn't approved it yet. she's having a similar issue with the fountain right by the Sonny Bono statue. And if I understood correctly, people have been doing their laundry there, which blew out or made the mechanism malfunction in that particular fountain. So she's waiting for funding for 2 fountains. It was really nice to have confirmed, though, that the city is responsible for it, because there were questions about that. We did receive more letters, one of which was from Diane Morgan, who used, and I remember that name, who used to be, I think, over the Public Arts Commission. I think it was in the early 2000s. So I think she was there for the entire building of the fountain. And I forwarded that on to the Measure J Commission along with Stacy. And I think I may have given Tracy a copy. I'm not sure about that or not.
Yes.
So that's what I know about the Rainmaker. We haven't heard anything from Measure J yet. We may get a letter, we may not get a letter. I was told, initially I was told December we would hear, now I'm told April. So that's what I know. Would you like me to go into the John Clements sculptures?
Oh, that's under 11.
Okay, so that's what I know with Rainmaker.
You know, I will throw one more thing out on Rainmaker. So we've gotten a lot of letters, a lot of complaints from the community. And so we should say as a commission that we know Rainmaker is in a state of disrepair and it's not working. And we are pushing to have it functioning again. So it's, the city isn't sitting on it or anything. They, you know, they are actively trying to get it done. But I spoke to one of the people who has sent us a number of letters and asked him, you know, I talked to him about, kind of explained the whole situation to him. And he was, we had a really great discussion. And I said, you know, part of what the city kind of wants to start doing, or has done a little bit in the past and wants to do more of, is kind of having a, you know, like we're doing with the mural, more outreach to the community. So I said to this gentleman, you know, would you be interested, and I don't know if we can do this yet, but having a an ad hoc committee of citizens that are interested in this fountain, that kind of, you know, are business owners or artists, or, you know, and they would kind of, you know, this fountain is really important to a lot of people in this city. It is a monster amount of money to maintain it, and really have, you know, the citizens say, hey, we want to maintain it, we don't want to maintain it, and maybe, you know, give their opinion to us, and so we can give some advice to the council on it, because the city spent over $200,000 on this fountain when they put it in, and it costs, you know, over $40,000 a year to maintain. So we've put we've really put a lot of money into it, and it's a big project that maybe needs to be rethought. So I'm throwing that out there. I wasn't able to talk to the city manager about that yesterday, but that is an idea, and I know some people would be interested in serving as you know, a committee for the commission on that project. So did you want to say anything about Main Street?
Nothing, I mean, there's nothing really new to report with Main Street. They had the bike race. The bike race went over really well. My understanding is, and this hasn't been discussed recently, but I read where there is a chalk art festival happening going to happen in front of the museum. And does anybody have any information on that?
Normally that's the Rotary, not,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the Rotary Club. And we have helped with that in the past. So I was one of the people the last time around, and then it was canceled due to COVID. But it's their money-making program for the year, and they bring artists in from all over the country to do it. And people really loved it in the past. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but so yeah, that's the Rotary. And if we want to reach out to them and see if, they need any help or advice or whatever from us, they might already have it planned, because they probably just shelved their plans from the other year. I can look up the gentleman's name who was in charge of it last time, if anyone's interested.
I think it might be interesting for us to be involved in some way.
Do you know when it is?
I remember in the summer, that's all I remember reading, but I can look it up. I can find out more.
Yeah, I mean, they spend a lot of money on it, and it's a really big fundraiser for them. It's like a elevated chalk art festival.
If what I can do is I can get the information, I can forward it to Jay, and Jay can send it out to everybody.
Cool. And I'll look up his name and send it out too.
His name is Jay. He's right there.
No, the gentleman from the Rotary Club.
It has been posted in the chat by Mr. Talkington.
What was that again?
March 24th is the festival.
Okay.
Oh, that's really close. I'll look up the gentleman's name when we close down today, so it's in people's inbox. Okay, cool.
March 19th is the same day we're supposed to be doing the 1 PS, I believe. Is that going to be a conflict for us?
No, because we haven't decided to do any. We decided to do 1 PS, so yeah, we haven't decided to do anything with this.
Is Shonda talking about the JOJ Center?
Correct.
No,
No.
she's talking about the 1 PS.
The picnic, isn't that March 19th?
Yes.
And the Chalk Art Festival is March 19th also?
24th.
No, March 19th and 20th.
Oh, sorry.
It's, if you look on their website, it's March 24th.
Well, if I may, regarding the Chalk Festival being that it's March 19th, the 20th, or the 24th, that does not give us time to do anything
Yeah.
on it, for it, or with it. So can we move on?
Yes, we can always just show up and give our moral support. Okay, so number 12, we already received. Cindy sent us the budget update, I think on Monday or yesterday. So you guys all should have
Excuse me,
that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
did we jump over 11?
No, I was just canceling out 12. So we're done with 12.
Okay,
So number 11, commissioners' new ideas. So do you guys want to, Russell and Gary, do you want to talk about your idea, or do you want to table 11 to the next meeting?
well, I would like for Gary just to give a brief rundown of our proposal and the rough budget so the commissioners can sort of start to process that. And
Yeah,
we'll bring it as an action item in our next meeting.
yeah, that's great, because that's what we said we were going to do, is just throw things out, people can think about them, and then we come back to vote on things. So go for it.
I think the write-up is pretty self-explanatory. I tried to cover every position that and questions people would have. This would be a multi-artist mural downtown that would show the multicultural aspect of Palm Springs histories throughout its time. And I think if handled well and the content is dynamic, as we know Palm Springs would be, this could be a pretty amazing piece. As I said, we do not have any of the artists chosen yet. We do not have any specifics done. We had a preliminary meeting with Pete from Flat Black to get his thoughts on it, to get some estimates, but we're not locked into anything with him as of yet. We wanted to get everybody's feedback and see if they had any questions. Any
Great.
questions?
I think it's a great idea. I love the idea. And your write-up was really self-explanatory on it. I just think it's positive and equity related and community related and great public art related with a message. So I think it's a great idea, and that's my comment on your piece for this meeting. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or about this project before we all think about it over the next month?
I do. I think, first of all, thank you very much for the write-up. I think it's very, very well written. And I like the photos very, very much. I like the concept. One thing I would encourage you to do, and I'm sure you'll bring more of this information to us, is remain open about the various people in the community that have been influential in developing the community. And one I will mention right now, and she doesn't get much credit, is Julia Cornell. And she built the Plaza. And I know her and Nellie Kaufman knew each other because they existed around the same time. But La Plaza was like the second, I think, mall built in the United States. So I'm just throwing that name out there.
Awesome. So does anyone else have any questions, comments? Was someone trying to say something? No. Okay, so we'll go to our next one, which is oh, it's not included. Oh, sorry. Which is moving of the John Clements sculptures. So we've been talking about this in our Arts Maintenance Subcommittee, and now that we finally, even though it was in 2018, we never received word that the city now owns these sculptures. So it seems like a great time when we're trying to get our art maintained so things don't deteriorate anymore, to move the John Clements sculptures, to group them together. I talked to John Clement and he told me that they were designed to be displayed together, and they originally were. So I have no idea, and I don't know if anybody has any idea how they got here and how they were put where they were put, but they don't look very good. And two of the locations are very damaging to the sculptures, and they need to be installed on proper pads as well. So this is a location that we had talked about in our meeting a little bit. I went and scouted it out. There may be other locations that other people come up with that could work, but this is to get our conversation started and to see how the commission feels about wanting to relocate these, to then get further costs on it and permissions, or do outreach to the community to see how they would work in that location or another location.
Madam Chair, which item is this?
This is Commissioners, item 11.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something?
Please.
Just going to your prepared printout here, where it says cost and needs. One of the things that concerns me is that when we're moving these large pieces of art, specifically on Palm Canyon Drive, there's a huge base. I'm assuming that was put there for the art. So should we also include in our cost to remove that? And also the front lawn, if we move the one on the front lawn of the art center, basically, should we also include in our cost the restoration of the areas that we're leaving?
Yeah, the one in front of the theater is on grass. So yeah, I mean, it's a city property, so they could just replace the grass. The one that's at Ernest Coffee, I don't think we'd want to remove that pad. It's gigantic, but maybe we would want to put something there that's sized correctly to that pad, right? Because that sculpture now, I've seen it sitting at the coffee shop. I've seen it hit by trucks at least twice. So it's a danger going into the traffic, and it's just way too big for that pad. So I don't know if I would assume the pad was built for it, because if you look at it, it looks like that really old, whenever they put in all the garbage cans and things like that around town, it's the same kind of design. But there's an opportunity there, right, to use that pad for something else, and then maybe to use that pad at the theater for something else. So it gives us an opportunity for a couple more pieces of art. And then to install them correctly, not on grass, not around irrigation, on a permanent pad. And then when they're taken off, I think it's just bolted to that concrete. When they're taken off the pads, then they can be restored and be repainted, because they're in desperate need of repainting in some restoration work. So it would be a lot easier if they were just removed from the site they're installed on to do that. But yeah, we should include those costs, right? Like site preparation and relocation, restoration, and reinstallation. So that would include all of that. I had hoped, to be able to reach out to get a price, but because our arts maintenance contract has gone out for bid, we can't go communicate with vendors on this ourselves. So we could ask this city staff if they could do so, but it's not like we shouldn't be reaching out to people to get prices on this at this time, since we have a bid out on a contract.
In addition to what you were saying before, and I know we've all talked about the location being not Francis Stevens Park, but the one behind the Desert Arts Center. One of the things I would recommend is because someone else may have another suggestion that may be a better location for these pieces of art. So I would suggest between now and next month that we start looking around and we bring our ideas to the next meeting in March. Because I believe we all agree upon, and if you're asking for a motion, we all agree that they're going to be moved. We all agree that they're going to be restored. We just may not have the location yet.
Yeah, if there's a better location, that's great. Yeah, I kind of want to get a consensus of that the commission's interested in this project, so we move it forward.
Well,
So,
I will start.
but we don't have to give a motion or anything. It's just kind of a sense of the commission. And then we can talk about it further, but we can move it forward in investigation over the next month.
Right.
So what do you guys
I want to
think?
throw in my 100% support of this. It's long overdue, and I will look forward to a very specific plan that we can vote on and approve in our March meeting. Thank you, Matthew.
And I go along with that. Bring your ideas. Maybe, again, there's a better location for it. And we can vote on it in March.
Well, Yeah, as far as the location, Matthew, I would prefer that if any commissioners have a specific idea that they email you directly so that the proposal in March is site specific and we're ready to vote on it.
That's
And
fine.
not
That's
take half
fine.
an hour to discuss it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and commissioners, if you're looking at other spaces, just make sure this area here has no grass and no trees. It's just decomposed granite. So that helps keep down our relocation costs. So we don't want to move sprinklers and replace, take out grass, et cetera. So, and have it be a really dynamic area so that can add some movement and, make it a dynamic display. Okay, great. So it seems like we have a consensus that people want to move forward with that. So that's awesome. Does anybody not want to move forward with it? And if not, we can adjourn and Russell can get to his family.
Well, although we do have to go through item G and item H, just as a matter of protocol. Any report from staff?
Oh, yeah. So Jay, any
Nope.
report?
No report. Thank you very much.
And H, any commissioners' comments? And you can let me know in them too, if you want to move our meeting earlier than 5:30.
I do have a comment, and it's not about the time. I have requested contracts regarding the temporary arts because I would feel more comfortable if I see the contracts when we're about to make a decision. I have knowledge of what transpired in the past. So if I could have some support in getting those contracts, I would like that. And they could be shared with everybody.
Yeah, I've been asking for contracts relating to things that we have. If you could send me like a list or whatever, because I can also tell you there's not going to be a contract for a lot of things. So if it was during COVID, there might be this artist agreement and that's it. There's not that much detail. So I could kind of give you a yes or no sign versus having someone spend the time trying to search for things that we know aren't there. But yes, so we are, that's why I try to put so much information in the packet. So we have a lot of information and yeah, we should be able to see all that stuff. So, but there, like a couple sculptures or a couple pieces people were talking about, there's like an invoice or there's, not all of the data exists that we would like.
Shall we move on to adjournment now?
Yes, and does anyone want any times changing the meeting time? It's a great opportunity. We've been trying to get our meeting earlier over the past few years. So does anyone want to throw out if they're available earlier than 5:30? Or let us know via email. Okay.
So we're going to
All
keep
right.
with the motion for our 5:30 and that will change if the city allows us to do 4 o'clock.
Yeah, yes. So one of the reasons, just so you know, the city manager cannot come to our meetings. He would like to come to our meetings. I've asked him to come to our meetings, but he will never be able to because the airport commission meets at 5:30. Right. So that's another reason we might be able to change our meeting to earlier. And I threw out 4 because that's one time we tried to get the other year. We also threw out 4:30 before. So we have met at 3, we've met at 2. 2 was really hard. And so right, just let us know.
How about if I make a motion to adjourn and using the 4 o'clock time and we'll just see if that flies?
Sure.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our regular meeting, March 16th, 2022 at 4 p.m. via teleconference.
Second.
I will. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Thank you,
Great.
everybody, so much.
Bye, everyone.
Night, everyone.
Bye.